about 90% of the population drinks caffeine. Taking a line is frowned upon, while drinking caffeine is the most normal thing. But there's a reason we don't let kids have caffeine. It is a drug, and it's not as harmless as I used to believe. Now, I used to rely on caffeine daily, drinking white monsters for breakfast, chugging coffee like water, and having pre-workouts every day. What if cutting back or quitting could actually increase your energy, improve focus, and make you feel better than ever?
So I start my mornings off with coffee like most people and having my bowl of oats. Now, recently I discovered something, and that is that I have high blood pressure, which doesn't come as a total surprise, because when I was training my dad about 2 years ago and we did a series on YouTube, you guys saw that he had a high blood pressure as well. He was taking medication for it. And so it's usually something that genetically runs in the family. So when I was talking to my doctor about these results, he said, well, your lifestyle, everything is on point right now. The only thing we can do is cut out caffeine and see what kind of effect that had. And this is pretty interesting because in recent years, the message of caffeine is healthy has definitely been popularized in like the health and fitness space, and then specifically by the scientific community, because there are a lot of promising studies, right? Many of them that show the benefits of caffeine. For example, on working out for sure, like strength training, endurance. But also when it comes to even hypertension, so a high blood pressure. Some analyses show that drinking 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day can be associated with a lower risk on hypertension. And there's this other one, 3 to 4 cups a day is associated with a lower risk on heart disease, forms of cancer, liver disease. Man, there is just a lot of evidence, right? 2 to 4 cups of coffee a day is associated with a lower risk on dying by any cause compared to no coffee consumption. So I can understand why people think that coffee is healthy, and why in general for most people it is. However, there's always this problem that I have with like the scientific community, people that are so attached to science, is that science takes the general public, the average person, right? Because you got to do studies with loads of people, but it doesn't mean that it applies to every single person. So you always got to figure out what works best for you. And just because a study says something doesn't mean it's the truth for everybody. Now, next to the blood pressure, I had this other problem with drinking coffee and caffeine. And that was that lately I was noticing an increase in my anxiety, and I would have sort of this jittery feeling as I started to drink more coffee or pre-workout. And I really started noticing and like putting one and one together. Like it really has to do with this. Like it doesn't come out of nowhere. And there are also studies supporting this idea. Now it usually goes like above 400 milligrams. But I actually realized like once I go to that 3rd or 4th cup of coffee, I'm not starting to feel great. And it actually hurts my productivity. Also getting this like afternoon crash later on the day, and sleep quality also being less good. So I realized something. It was time to quit caffeine again. Now it wasn't easy quitting caffeine. Last time I tried, it was literally a hell on earth. I was sleepy all day for like 2 to 3 days. I just couldn't really like work and focus. And I had these crazy headaches that were excruciating, right? So this time I decided to do it different and actually slowly taper down my caffeine rather than just quitting cold turkey. So here's how I did it. On day 1, I had 1 regular coffee in the morning, and then I had 2 decaf coffee later on the day. Then on day 2, I would still have a little bit of the regular coffee in the morning, but only a quarter of a cup. And then I would have 3/4 of a cup of decaf. And I would still have these 2 decafs later on the day. Then on day 3, I would have half a cup of coffee, half a cup of decaf. And on day 4, only a 1/4 cup of regular coffee and mostly decaf, 3/4 of a cup. Then on day 5, the regular coffee is gone, and I would only have those 3 decafs. Now keep in mind, decaf still contains some caffeine, so that's where a lot of people go wrong. But I think it's really nice to replace it first and then do that slowly, because then you skip the crazy headaches. I would still have some headaches during this process of these 5 days, but they would be a lot less. Very difficult to quit a habit because you get this cue, which is for me, when I wake up, I get this cue, my body wants coffee, right? It's this reaction that my body has. And so it's not something that you can just quit and be like, okay, well, I'm tough enough, I'm gonna persist through that. No, you will get that cue, it will be difficult. So what we're gonna do here is replace the decaf with a cup of tea, right? Now you have to be careful here because some teas also contain caffeine. So I know it's all quite difficult, but if you do it this way, honestly, I can promise you it's so much better than quitting cold turkey. I went through a horrible time, and now there's still some headaches. You're definitely more tired than usual, but you can actually go get through this withdrawal, because it's really a withdrawal from a drug. So before this workout, having a big meal today, because this Saturday is going to be a massive day. We're going to be doing the High Rocks Malaga. So this week I'm eating some extra carbs, loading up on that. So I got 120 grams of pasta with some sauce and some veggies, and then 125 grams of salmon. Now before my workouts, you guys often see me drink pre-workout, but obviously that is not going to happen anymore. But there is a really cool product which replaces it, which is a pump pre-workout, and this one has no caffeine, but it still has ingredients like L-citrulline, L-arginine, and other ingredients that will give you that pump during your training. But the most important thing of all is that this is a really nice way of replacing this habit, because you know there's just this thing about having a pre-workout, making it, then blasting some music in the car while sipping on it before the workout, really getting in that zone. And so this is my favorite flavor, sour apple, and they have it in this one as well. So Code Ryan will give you a discount at My Protein, and yeah, this has been really, really good. And I noticed it during my workouts that it still does something. It gives that extra pop. So for this race, been tapering the training. So the workout volume intensity is a lot lower this week. So pretty much the hard work is already done. Now it's just like a deload week, about 60% of what I normally do. So just easing into it, making sure we still do the movements so our body doesn't completely get out of the pattern. But it's gonna be pretty easy. The nerves are also starting to get there. Let's go. This is probably the worst exercise of all, and this is going to be the final exercise. So there's different rounds. You do 1 kilometer run, one exercise. You do that 8 times, and this is the final one during the race. So it's going to be tough. Luckily, I'm doing it together with Rob, so it's the two of us. You can kind of rest while the other one is working. But it's both going to be 8 kilometers of running as well, so it's going to be a challenge. After this high rocks, it is time for the next challenge, and that is getting lean for summer. The summer is approaching faster than you think, and if you're like me, you usually kind of let yourself go a little bit during winter. I mean, it's only normal. And now back in the day, I would do these crazy bulks where I would like blow the hell up. You guys will see this crazy moon phase. It's not that bad right now, but I can definitely lose some kgs. So if you're there as well, I know how it feels. And so if you struggle with like having hunger, you struggle with maintaining muscle mass while getting lean and then ending up looking kind of skinny, then I can help. Then I have something cool for you, because I will be hosting a live webinar next week. It's completely free. It's called Average to Aesthetic, where I'll teach you the exact step-by-step system to get that Greek god physique that you want. So apply for free. All right, so the strength and conditioning part of the day is done. That was fairly easy, like not even sweating that much, but we're gonna need that energy on Saturday for sure. Now, as I said, most of the race is gonna be running. Lately, I have had a lot of struggles while running. Well, actually for the past like 3 years, ever since I started running, with my shin splints, you know. I've shared this before, and so it's gotten a little bit better. I've done a lot of different like therapies. I got these insoles. I've done a lot of stuff, training my shins, but still it keeps coming back, especially when you build up the volume. And I had to build it up pretty quickly for this high rocks. But then again, I don't want to let Rob down, so I said, we got to do it. Even though I kind of knew it was not the wisest idea for the shins. But anyways, so today I'm not going to be running because I still feel a little bit. What I'm going to do is the cross trainer, this one right here, and I'm just going to do like 50 minutes, which is a fairly easy session for me now. Normally that would have been as long of a run, but yeah, we got to do some type of cardio. After this race, I'm like done doing, I'm never going to do cardio in my life anymore. Now this session is not fueled by any caffeine, but honestly guys, I don't want to say like that pump thing is a magical product, but mostly one of the things is like it gives you that mental cue. You feel obviously a little bit of the tingles, you have a little bit more of a pump. But even if you don't, it's like a lot of the caffeine is actually in your mind, and it's actually once you start moving your body, you actually don't need it, and your body starts naturally generating energy, right? And that's something I have felt while, quitting caffeine now. During the workouts, at first, it was like this mental thing where I was like, it's hard to get into the workout, maybe I feel a little bit tired. But once you get into the groove, you really get into the flow state, just like when you're, when you're working, when I'm like writing a book, it's very hard to get started, like writing the first page, writing the first letters. But once you do, you get into this flow state, you're excited, and that's when time just is like infinite, right? You don't have that feeling anymore. And so that's really the flow state you get into while training as well. And so you don't need caffeine to get there. Yes, it helps you, it makes it kind of easier to get into it, but you can also do it without. You generate this natural energy. It might sound crazy, but honestly, when you try it out, you realize that really is the case. In the Netherlands, we normally order groceries, so it gets delivered at home. Here in Marbella, it has been a little bit tough. So we tried out a new delivery service yesterday, so it's arriving tomorrow. So today we just got to improvise. We got some bread and hamburgers, man, just keeping it simple. And then tomorrow, hopefully they will deliver. Because the last 2 times we tried at a different one, they just didn't show up. And then we got our money back and stuff like that.
Carrefour.
Carrefour?
Don't order at Carrefour.
Don't order at Carrefour. So yeah, every morning and evening I've been doing this. And over a period of 14 days, I've seen my blood pressure slowly decrease. And after 14 days, it kind of evened out. But I'll show you the before and the after, like the average of it, of the days. And it's a difference of 10 points, which I think is a lot. And something else decreased in this process as well, which was really interesting. So I've been noting down in my journal, like every evening, how I felt, what my mood was that day, and specifically my anxiety levels. And within a matter of days, my anxiety was actually less. And it was sort of logical in a way, because I had this jittery feeling, this anxious feeling as I started to drink more coffee during the day. Sometimes when I like hit that pre-workout, I didn't feel great afterwards. So I kind of already made that correlation. Now, one could argue that this simply has to do with the lowering of the blood pressure, because if you have high blood pressure, it sort of automatically leads to this feeling of anxiety. So I don't know if it's separate from that or if it really purely has to do with each other, but honestly, within a matter of days, I noticed the difference. So I'm really curious if any of you guys can relate to that feeling if you quit or lowered your caffeine intake. Now, as far as sleep, I have to be completely honest. I've never had massive issues with sleep. Like I can sleep on a plane, in a car, it don't really matter. Although the last few months, I have had some issues with falling asleep like faster and so than usual. Maybe it was because of the stress with like buying a house in Spain, all that kind of stuff. But since I've quit caffeine, I'm not gonna lie, I fall asleep like that again. And it honestly stayed. It's been like 30 days right now. And so it's definitely a noticeable improvement. Now, as far as the sleep quality, I think that really improves if you are someone who drinks caffeine later on the day. Then the quality of sleep also truly improves, but I already kind of didn't drink caffeine later on the day. Well, on some days, like back in the day, I would have pre-workout at like 6 or 7 in the evening. It would be crazy, like after a work day. And then I would still be able to fall asleep, but the sleep quality was definitely worse, all right? So yeah, I can surely say right now that how fast I'm falling asleep has definitely improved, so that's awesome. So it's been 30 days, and am I still off caffeine? No, I'm not. So I have reintroduced caffeine, and that doesn't mean I'm drinking as much as I used to, but I have reintroduced it on just some days, occasionally, right? Now, I do feel like this is kind of a tough thing that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna see if this works, and also how my blood pressure is reacting. But I did realize that I truly love coffee, right? It's not necessarily the caffeine, and then sometimes I'll order a decaf, but there is something about like being in a coffee shop, you know, like having a coffee, like this social gathering. It's just a fun moment. It's nice. So I do want to have these moments still. And I have realized that if I drink just like one coffee every now and then, every couple days even, then I don't have this headache the next day when I don't drink a coffee. And so it does feel a lot different. Like I don't need it right now. And so I think occasionally it is nice to still have some caffeine as long as my blood pressure doesn't change, right? And so now it hasn't, as long as I don't drink too many. And so there was this one day where I think I had like 3 coffees again. And then this third one, I honestly noticed this anxiety coming back. So whether that is my blood pressure or simply the anxiety, it was not nice. I felt jittery again, anxious, and then I realized why I quit caffeine in the first place and what a good decision it actually was. So should you do it as well? If you do struggle with any of these things that I mentioned today, whether that is, the anxiety, the higher blood pressure, make sure to check it because it's called the silent killer for a reason, right? So it really improves your health and improves your chance of not freaking dying too soon if you make sure you check it. And next to that, like bad sleep, if you experience that, or like having a hard time falling asleep, then I would definitely suggest quitting caffeine, right? You don't have to quit forever, but at least take breaks every now and then reintroduce it slowly and don't go overboard because your body just gets used to caffeine. It is a drug after all, and then you have to constantly take more and take more to get that same effect, and then the diminishing returns will just be much more, right? And so the benefits will not really be there anymore. And I think a lot of you guys are gym bros just like me, so you've been growing up with like coffee and white monsters and energy drinks and pre-workouts. And I think if you get to a certain age, when you're younger, you don't notice all this stuff, but also if you get to know yourself better and you get to know your body more, you get more in tune with your body, you start to feel that it's just not right. It's just not right. And that's my opinion. So some people will have no bad effects from drinking caffeine, and they can drink up to 400 milligrams. And there are studies that show that it has a lot of health benefits, but that is simply not the case for everybody, right? So just keep that in mind. Think about it and give it a try if you feel like this video has inspired you to do so. And if you do, let me know in the comments. And if you already quit, let me know what your experience was. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely gonna like this one as well. So check it out and I'll see you around.